Alright, welcome back, peeps. I wanted to do this video because I had started taking the laptop apart to redo the thermal paste. This is the same laptop that I did the last video in. Of course, that was a screen capture, so you got to see that. You got to see what I was doing on the computer itself. But the computer was this laptop was overheating, and I wanted to clean it up and check out the condition inside, and also maybe clean it a bit. So this is the keyboard that was inside of it. I took it apart because it was pretty dirty, and I wanted to look at it and see if maybe like I could probably take this apart further and get it working. It looks like it got some type of liquid damage. I honestly don't know what it is. I have to wipe this off. I wiped off what was on the... There was some on the CD drive, and like underneath the keyboard there was like a piece of plastic. Alright, so I took off the keyboard. It looks like I got some type of weird liquid damage. So I'm going to clean this up. This stuff, it had gotten kind of into the computer. Like this was on top of a piece of plastic, and like the liquid got like stuck underneath, and see got super crusty. Whatever it was, looked super gross. This looks really gross. Anyway, it was pretty bad. There was a lot of it in there. There was some on the CD drive. Well, this is a Blu-ray drive actually, which is something I really like about this computer, is just the ability to throw Blu-ray in there and watch a movie. Let's see. Oh, this dates the computer. So this is from 2011. So this is actually about the same age as my desktop. As I was talking about in the last video, there's a possibility that this might have, well, I don't know yet, but it might have more RAM slots, but I haven't seen them yet. I don't know where they could be. These are the two that are accessible from the bottom panel, but I have not seen more space for RAM slots. I'm starting to doubt that there actually is any. It's just very weird that under Windows it reported that there was 4 slots of RAM. Or maybe that's something that Windows grabs the information from the CPU for. But that's kind of weird. Like, sure, the CPU supports 4 slots of RAM, but the laptop doesn't. Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, so a lot happened in between the last clip and this one, so I'll explain. Basically, I took the panel that goes underneath the keyboard off. This is actually the palm rest, so I basically took off the palm rest. Had a lot of cables, some of them really hard to take off, but I want to come back to this thing. This is the important bits, you know. This is the actual computer inside the computer, and it looks like the motherboard hasn't suffered any type of water damage, which is great. I don't see much corrosion. There's a little bit of corrosion on the heatsink bracket here, but that isn't going to affect any of the electronics, so I'm just going to leave it alone. What I do notice here is that the CPU is socketed, which is a rare sight to see when you compare this to a modern laptop. And let me see if I can get this on camera. But I'm looking at the date stamp, or the copyright on the CPU here. Is the camera gonna focus in on it? That camera does not want to focus in on it. Okay, anyway, it says 09. You can't really see it because this camera sucks, I realize now. And, but the motherboard does definitely say that it is a 2011, so I'm going to take this at face value and say that this computer is definitely from 2011. Even if it wasn't sold in 2011, which it should have been. This is a January PC, and I doubt that this would have spent that much time in the store. So this is definitely from 2011, and this heatsink, as massive as it is, it was clogged up with some dust there. So in between that clogging and this thermal paste be extremely pasty and not really liquidy like it should be, plus they put a ton of it. I scraped some of it off, but it was a ton of thermal paste that they put on there. So anyway, yeah, this computer definitely from 2011. Looks pretty clean for the most part. Looks like some dust got under this, and yeah, but that's like a resistor there, so I'm gonna leave that alone. There's not really any way that I can fix that. It does have USB 3.0, which is great. And especially for the use case that I'm going to be using this for, I think it's definitely important for me to be able to quickly move video files from one hard drive to another. And that is definitely going to help me out. Okay, so I replaced the thermal paste and put the CPU cooler back on. I noticed that up here it says, oh, that's actually in focus. So the socket is an RPGA 989 socket, which I looked up, and it's actually also called the G1 socket. And I found a list of compatible CPUs, so maybe I can get another CPU for this in the future when it's a little bit more powerful. But we'll see what happens with that. I would imagine that it's not easy for me to just look up a CPU and buy one, especially for a mobile platform, but I could always try. I wrote down some notes to keep that information on hand. So, put the CPU cooler back on, it's clean now, it doesn't have any dust, and I'm going to put this thing back together. Alright, since this laptop has a really good CPU, I decided to snatch the 8 gigs of RAM that I had out of another laptop. Let's see the stickers here. One of them is from ADATA and the other one is a Samsung. They're both 4 gigabytes. This one says 12800 and this one says, oh, but it says 1600 down here. These should be both 1600 megahertz. Which is, I think, a little bit faster than these were. No, I think these are the same, actually. Actually, don't remember the speed of these two. Everything looks like PC3. I'm actually gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna match up these Samsungs. And then the ADATA is gonna go with this one. I guess it's basically the same set that was before, but now I'm gonna have the same brand in this laptop. It looks like it could be the same model but different revision. Yeah, super cool. So this is definitely going in here. I'm gonna flip it the other way, and when I get this powered back on, it's gonna have 8 gigs of RAM. This memory I know works, so shouldn't have any issues with this. Oh. Sometimes that slot can be hard to get into. But yeah, I'm gonna close this back up and we'll see how it runs when I get it back on. I want to run Geekbench on this today so that I can see exactly where the performance is now that I've changed out the thermal paste and I've put more RAM. Okay, I'm gonna save everybody from having to waste their short time on this planet having to listen to me rant for 25 minutes because I literally recorded a 25-minute video after all of this, and I'm just gonna say it wasn't worth it. I'm deleting the whole thing. It really was not worth it. Here's the Geekbench score. It was a very poorly taken score because I took this while already using OBS. Um, OBS wasn't recording at the time, but it was running in the background, and I also had a second monitor plugged in. This was the worst test that I could have done for the laptop, but it's here, and I'm just saving you the trouble of having to listen to me rant about how much Elementary OS sucks for 20 minutes, because it really is bad in its current state, but I'm not gonna get into that. If you really want to hear me complain about that, you can leave a comment and I'll consider maybe putting out that video uncut, but seriously, it's not worth it. Not for 20 whole minutes of your life. Don't.